Welcome back, everyone. Looking forward to an exciting digital ecosystem week starting today. And let's welcome our first panel session of the day, entitled SMEs, Bridging the Digital Divide in the Burgeoning Digital Economy. Moderating this session is Dato, Dr. A.T.Kumararajah, Council Member of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia, NCCIM. Dr. A.T.Kumararajah is no stranger to the SME committee. He's also the Honorary Secretary General for the Malaysia Associated Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, MAICCI, which is the apex body for all Indian chambers of commerce in Malaysia, representing over 30,000 members nationwide. Over to you, Dato.
Thank you, Hazrul, and selamat pagi, salam sejahtera, good morning, zao sang hao, and vanakkam to everyone. And my name is Dr. A.T.Kumararajah, representing here the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, NCCIM. We are close to 62 years old, and we represent the apex body of all the race-based chambers, the Malay Chamber, the Chinese Chamber, the Indian Chambers, and also together with the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers and also the International Chamber. And like what Hazrul started off, and I think earlier Aiza from the MDEC in terms of the Malaysian Tech Month, and what started off as a Malaysian Tech Week, I believe in 2019, morphed into the Malaysian Tech Month last year, which again was done virtually. And I think that now we are in the second series of the Malaysian Tech Month 2020, which is an anchor event for Malaysian Digital Economic Corporation, for whom congratulations is in order because you have crossed your 25th year in terms of leading the Malaysian's digital economy forward. And as we come to the opening gambit of the second week of the Malaysian Tech Month, the first week started with the heart of the digital investments. The theme for the second week is the heart of digital ecosystems. The third week goes to digital skills, and the fourth and the culminating lab finishes with heart of digital disruptors. And as we mentioned, at the heart of this digital ecosystem is the heart of the Malaysian economy, which primarily is the small and medium enterprises. And the small and medium enterprises, if somebody is really into numbers, contribute about 98.5% of the 907,065 companies as of SSM's data are all SMEs. In that, you'll have probably 76.5% of them, which is close to about 700,000 micro enterprises. In totality, the SMEs contribute close to 38.3% of the Malaysian GDP and about 48% of our workforce, which is about 7.3 million people, and about close to 20% of the Malaysians' total export, which has crossed $1 trillion this year. I must say that all these numbers are pre-pandemic, and I must put a caveat to this because all speakers that come after me might challenge the validity of all these numbers because COVID, which has now been detected, close to 222 countries, the number has crossed 203 million people, with close to about 4.5 million people succumbing to it overall. And in Malaysia, we tend to still create new highs as of even yesterday, where we have already crossed 1.26 million, with close to 10,000 plus fellow families and friends who have actually lost to COVID this year alone. While the vaccination efforts have actually been a silver bullet in our fight against COVID, with about 8.5 million Malaysians fully vaccinated, which is close to a quarter of the adult population, with another 24 million people being inoculated over the past couple of months. Now, if you bring the SMEs back into the picture, in terms of where we started, I think while a lot of numbers have been coming through in the first quarter, but I think if somebody wants to use a very simple rule of the thumb is, as far as the economy is concerned, in 2021, now as we speak in the third quarter, we are squarely back where we started in 2018. So nearly 3.5 years of growth and good economy has been completely wiped out of the last 22 months of having COVID around. So that's really where we start off with the economic situation, which is quite bleeding. And until now, we have not seen the worst of COVID yet. with close to about 800,000 Malaysians out of employment and another 2.5 million people supposedly underemployed, which means about 12 million Malaysians are actually suffering some nature of this pandemic efforts. And while we have actually become used to the idea of working from home, while food has gone Grab and Panda, and education has gone on demand, and e-wallets have become the norm of life, let me see the only benefit that this whole COVID disruption is the digital disruption. And while that has been the only platform from how many SMEs have actually pivoted, have actually survived, and as I read an article just a couple of days ago, we have always been used to this term essential, non-essential, and somebody has written that any business that has survived until today is essential by any measure of means. With that, I bring you to this eminent group of speakers and panelists that we have today with the topic SMEs bridging the digital divide in the burgeoning digital economy. With us, we have Dato Michael Kang, who is the National President of the SME Associations of Malaysia, which represents, like I said, the 907,065 SMEs. That's the number that Dato Michael Kang probably even remembers in his sleep. With that, then we have Dato Mike Loh, who is the president of the ASEAN Retailers Franchise Federation, and the rose among the thorns here is actually Dato Azlin Ahmad Shaharbi, the president of the Association of Bumiputera Women in Business and Profession, or fondly known as Peniagawati. So welcome to all our speakers, and I believe Dato Michael Kang is also on board. Yes, Dato, right. So we have close to 55 minutes to bring this opening gambit for the second week to an end. We will start with each of the speakers speaking from their own perspective, their experience, their expertise, and where the SMEs see this digital divide, with some local examples of how well we have done, and then go on to a question and answer session, and then with some closing remarks from each speaker, with suggestions and hopefully policies and programs that will eventually translate to bridge this digital divide. So Dato Michael, you probably can start off. And before Dato, 1 second before that, I must remember that another big congratulations is in order, because Dato Michael Kang is probably the only SME representative on the Malaysia Majlis Pemulihan Negara, which is a new team which is formed by our Finance Minister, Dato Sri Tengku Zafrul, and Dato Michael is a member of it. So he basically carries all of our voices at the government level at Putrajaya to make sure that the new narrative of opening up the economies becomes sustainable. So over to you, Dato.
Okay, thank you, Dato, the A.T.Kumar. Today, the moderator today, I think, thank you for your introductions. I think Malaysia Tech Month, this I think is very important, especially for the SME. I think everyone, Dato Kumar has mentioned that, you know, our country is really suffering from the pandemic. I think especially for SME, since last year March lockdown until today, as during even at our MPM meetings, PM also mentioned that, you know, in his opening remark, he also mentioned that our country is, I think, is the longest lockdowns countries in the world. So I think the most suffering the entrepreneur, I think, should be the SME. You know, especially we talk about, you know, 907,065. This is the figures which is we have it, I think, in 2015 census figures. Today figures, I think, is different. I think at least more than 1.2 million. I think should be more than 1.2 million. I think this year the government going to announce a new SME figures. Every 5 years, they're going to release the new figures of how many SME in the country. All these are suffering, you know, especially micro SME, and those are informal sectors. That's why digital is very important for the SME to embark in. Since before the pandemic, I think SME, most of the SME did not really focus on digitization, did not focus on using technology, because they are still very traditional. They're using traditional way of doing the business because they got no time to look into the digital, look into the technology. They say they're too busy. They're all still very manual and using a lot of traditional way of running business. But during the pandemic, all these SME are suffering because they don't know what to do. And this is the way when come to the during this more than 1.5 years, a lot of SME learn, they have to adopt the technology. They have to move forward to use technology to learn how to go online, adopt into all these computers and buy all the software and see how to can help them to survive over this pandemic. I think from before the pandemic, a lot of SME, I think less than 15% of SME adopt into technology, but I think today we can see when our last survey, I think already pick up more than 35% of SME already adopt, and then another 30% is on the way, on the way to adopt the technology and adopt digitals. I think we can see that for last 1.5 years, on all the government's assistance, all the similar package, every package that is the digitization's grant, digitization assistance from the government, not only grants but also a soft loan from various banks and also agency that provide all the loan for the SME to adopt into technology. And this is very important. You can see, so that is why we encourage the SME, please adopt in technology. After this pandemic, if SME did not adopt technology, did not adopt internet or online business or whatever, digitalization, I think they're going to face out. They will not able to survive, pass through this pandemic, or even they pass through the pandemic. If they still go back to the traditional way, I think SME will definitely wind up, face out within next 3 to 5 years. They will not able to survive because we are talking about digitization. We're talking about, as long as I can see, we are currently in the recovery stage. So you can see during this pandemic, all these like what our A.T.Kumararajah mentioned, that like e-wallet and food deliver online orders are picking up. It's very fast. So mobiles is also another tool for the SME, can be used for their business. So work from home, you need technology. You need, like today, our webinar, same thing. We are adopting technology. We go through the webinars using technologies, stay at home, and to talk about to transform, pass down all the message to the SME to learn how to adopt into technology. This is the way to go. As what we say, recovery is on the next coming months. So we hope that all the SME can change and transform themselves to adopt technology and face the new challenge, new norm, new way of doing business, new way of survive, and to make themselves against. You can see our countries have signed quite a lot of free trade agreements like RCEP, CPTPP, and also ASEAN. I think all those we can able to help SME to not only to do their business locally, but also we can embark into the international market, which is FTA have been signed next year. I think all those FTA will be rolling out. So SME should grab this opportunity to adopt technology, to move into this market is the advantage for the SME. You can see during this pandemic, a lot of SME who do export, I think their sales have been increased. Some even increased double, some even increased triple. I think the sales have been picking up. If we are allowed to operate, I think SME with the technology adopting, I think they were able to capture the bigger market, not only Malaysian market, but ASEAN and the outside market, include the CPVD market. I think this is what SME to get ready with the technology, with the digitals. I think this is what the message we are going to carry, pass down to the SME. Here, pass it back to our moderators. A.T.Kumar, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. I think you have made that very, very clear in terms of why SMEs must migrate to the digital platforms. They must complement the brick and mortar systems that exist. While we understand there is a difference between the small enterprises and the medium-sized enterprises and the way they actually embrace technology, but regardless of what, this permanent change has even which has been accelerated by the COVID pandemic in terms of our digital disruption is here to stay. And I think you've also made a very good case in terms of why this digital transformation is also important in terms of the market size. I think you alluded to the fact that we have a lot of this ASEAN and world-based trade networks and trade agreements that is also important for us to pivot on to a larger market, because as we see the world shrinking, there's also a lot of nationalization taking place, and our businesses must move forward in that way. I'll probably want to bring you to the next speaker, Dato Azlin. Now, Dato Azlin comes from an entirely different background. She's a lawyer by professions, but in a country like ours where lawyers and doctors are actually now fighting for job security, I think she has actually pivoted into the business field long before somebody needs to go on a cartel in terms of wanting for jobs. So Dato Azlin is also probably want to share it from a very women perspective. While women have control over 44% of all SMEs in our country, but their contribution to the GDP within the SME sector still remains within the 30% mark. So over to you, Dato Azlin.
Thank you very much, Dato A.T. Right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to Dato A.T. and all the esteemed panel and everybody who's watching. So thank you so much for having me today, and congrats to MDEC for having this for organizing this Malaysia Tech Month. So Dato A.T., while talking about women, I'm also going to touch on micros, because most of the women entrepreneurs are actually micro enterprises. And I agree 100% with what Dato Michael Kang said just now. I mean, digitalization is the way to go for everyone, for all the SMEs. But I also like to say that the digitalization is such a big word. It's a very sexy word these days. You know, everybody's talking digitalization, but as it applies to women entrepreneurs or to micro enterprises, I don't know what they I don't know how they think what they think that means, because when you talk digitalization, I think what's important is how it applies to the industries, and to the business itself. And I think here we need to see that there's a vast difference of what that word means, digitalization, to women entrepreneurs, to micro enterprises, to small, medium MNCs, and all that. All right. And I think for us, for micro enterprises in general, I think all they take it to mean is that for them to have a social media presence, for them to have a website, for them to go into the e-commerce platform and all that. So I think sometimes there is a tendency to talk about digitalization too much in general, right? Because I think, to me, what's important is, at the end of the day, is how that digitalization is applied to the industries, the all the businesses, and especially now, right? Because Dr. A.T., if we're having this conversation prior to MCO, maybe it would have been a different conversation, because it'll be then, because everybody will be okay, there's no businesses which have ceased operations and all that. But talking about it now, right, I think the approach is slightly different. And for all the micro enterprises which have ceased operations, and there are lots of it. I mean, from my own personal experience, I've seen my members, the women entrepreneurs, who have like closed right in the 3rd month, in the 6th month, in over this 1.5 years. right? So now, when we talk about digitalization and how we're going to apply that to those to the businesses which have ceased operations, all right. So how do we start now? All right. So that's a different kind of digitalization when you talk about the bigger companies, right, which will need other tools and other ways of uh, other solutions, other systems to enhance their business operations. So I think that's very important to see how, right, when it comes to micro and women who have actually gone through a lot for this 1.5 years, and I think it need to be addressed, as in, if a business now, right, has ceased operation, you want to bring the digitalization to them, right, what would we need to do? All right, what we need to do, right, because as we all know, in business, I mean, we've got a lot of other considerations, other issues to think about. I mean, you got to restart your operations. You got to think about what kind of business you're going to go in, post pandemic. All right, and some of the products that you've been doing all this while may not be relevant anymore, right, and all those things. So how do we uh, inject that digitalization into starting up all these companies which have ceased operations? And also, I think for those that have survived over the 1.5 years, there are many who have survived, and I'm very proud of some of our entrepreneurs, our women entrepreneurs, who have pivoted to other things, or who have gone online, and who have adopted the technology and digitalization. There are many of those, and I think they have been very open to going for their training, for getting for applying for all these grants to adopt digitalization in their business. But at the end of the day, I think they need some help in doing that business plan, because technology and digitalization is just a way to assist the business, right? So sometimes I want to share with you that, to AT, I know that some of my the women entrepreneurs, I mean, they go in for the training for digitalization, and there's many of those going on, but they don't know yet what kind of business they're going to do, or what business they're going to pivot to. So I think the point is that digitalization as a whole is good for everyone. I mean, I agree to that wholeheartedly, but I think we need to look at the application of that to the micro enterprises, and to SMEs in general, especially in these current times. And maybe we need to have a differentiated policy approach to handle certain industries, and what would their requirements be, because micros would need less requirements in terms of digitalization compared to the bigger companies. So what would they need, and what would the bigger companies need? I think we need to look into that, differentiate that, and assist them to go forward post pandemic. And also, if we can have lesser of a duplication in terms of the ministry, sometimes there's a lot of duplication in things. So maybe that policy approach can be a little bit more comprehensive towards digitalization, led by MDEC, so that we all go forward in a very consistent manner. I think that's all I will say for the time being. Dato' AT, I pass it back to you.
Thank you, Dato Azlin. I couldn't have put it better, because in terms of how you finish is very nice, because you said, look, we need a differentiated policy as far as the digital divide, especially managing the micro enterprises, like we have shared earlier, and Dato Azlin alluded, 76.5% of all these SMEs are micro enterprises, which puts the number a tad below 700,000. And that is why among all the 8 economic stimulus packages, with this $530 billion outlay and about $88 billion of in-cash injection, the single largest successful program within the economic stimulus packages is actually the Grant Khas Prihatin, which has, if you had started with the first version, 1.0, now they are into Grant Khas Prihatin 5.0, you probably have in excess of about 6,500 ringgit in your bank account, where 1 million micro enterprises are benefited. But the yardsticks, the tools, the approach towards micro enterprises must be differentiated. That's a very, very good idea. But let's look at it from a different thing. So what other things have really changed during this pandemic as far as SME landscape is concerned is the business model. We start hearing new terminologies: circular economy, shared economy, and then we have this green economy. And then suddenly there was a reading about a blue economy. Blue economy has got everything to do with maritime and the coastal region. So different business models have actually evolved during this period of time. Some of the archaic businesses that we have done is unfortunately closed for good. Some new disruptors have come onto the system, and definitely newer businesses that have survived. And one of these businesses that have actually survived is the franchise model. This franchise model, not only because it keeps attuned to the changes that is happening in the landscape, also has got the copy and paste approach, which tends to have the security of the larger franchisee compared to the franchisor, and that relationship has actually allowed some of these franchises to survive. And to bring you that experience and to share some thoughts about how this business model, especially the franchise business model, has survived in the pandemic period and also moving into the post-pandemic phase, and also giving you a little bit of a touch or a flavor of the ASEAN scope and ASEAN region, bring to you the president of the ASEAN franchises, Retail Franchises Association President, Dato Mike Loh. Dato.
Just hold on. Good morning, moderator, my good brother, Dato A.T.Kumararajah, and congratulate for Malaysia Tech Month for organizing such a beautiful event so that many people can benefit. Yeah, because during this MCO pandemic situation, we need to fit in a lot of new ideas. We have to learn from the conference or whatever summit that we attended. Yeah, hope people are not lazy. Look at what we said today. And we have to congratulate Dato Michael for being appointed for the recovery panel. And definitely, as a franchise business, we are suffering because we can't open. In Malaysia, most of the retail business are focusing in the shopping mall. And in Klang Valley alone, we have about 100 shopping malls. So that is a nightmare for all the retailers because mall cannot be open and most of the business are suffering in the mall. So that's why I believe after this pandemic, there will be a new business ecosystem will be happening, will be shown, because it's not only limited to the shopping mall anymore. It should be looking at the street, the outside of the mall as well, not focusing so much on the shopping mall. And in fact, franchise business are seriously affected because franchise business is relying on a management, operation, and expanding. As what we discussed just now, when Dato Michael said that's so true, and people in the retail business, they are not prepared for the digitalization prior for the pandemics. And during this situation, they have no choice, have to look into the whole system, especially the how to digitize their business online, on marketplace. But not many of them are prepared, are ready to do that because they don't have enough fund, they don't have cash coming in to fund the whole idea, to set up the websites, to set up the system, to set up their shop on a Shopee, Lazada, or whatever. So in one word, they are not prepared. So we need government to look into the ecosystem for the business, because we need to have a shareware. We need someone to create a software to put all these retailer, shoppers, all these SME, micro SME into a shareware so that everyone can be easily parked online and they can easily to sell their merchandise, because not many of them are online yet. So we should look into what China have done, what American have done. By instant, we have to change our business models and turn it into digitize our business so that we can reach to the crowd, reach to our buyers, our shoppers, not only limited when waiting for them to walk into our shop then we only can sell our system. We can sell our products. So we need agency like Magic or Cradle Fund to come into the pictures to fund all these startup company to create the shareware, the system, the apps, so that many retailers will be benefits. Yeah, we have to talk to the government so that the government will come in to assist the association so that we can help and assist the government to monitor on the MTech grant, so that we can help all these startup company or this potential retailer to turn it into digitize their business. So we need all these startup company to come in, okay? And we need government to shorten the process in order to help to fund all these startup company, because in order to digitalize our business, we need software, we need hardware, we need a lot of fund, we need a lot of fund for advertising and promotion, not the conventional way. We need to do the AMP for in Google, in Yahoo, in all sort of social media platform like Instagram, like Facebook. That is never happened before for all the retailers, right? And all the retailer, I mean, sad to say, we are Chinamen. Yeah, we run the old school way of business. We're focusing on the old way of your own experience to execute, to run, to manage our business in the old way. We're only focusing on how to expand our business, how to franchise our business from Malaysia to abroad, right? So not many people are looking forward to franchise a business abroad. In Malaysia, we have thousands of beautiful brands which is in focusing on franchise business, but we need more, because after MCO are opening, after pandemic are controlled, yeah, we cannot say pandemic will be over. From pandemic, it might be moved into endemic, right? It will not be over. So we need all these franchise business, homegrown franchise business who are still in Malaysia. We need them to combine with the gadget, combine with the software, combine with all the marketplace, the e-expo, so that we can move our brand abroad, especially under the RCEP, right? That we signed in last December. We have to move our business into Thailand, Indonesia, China, or Vietnam, okay? But we cannot invest. So by that time, we need to franchise our business model, to let our brand going abroad, to work JV or together with the foreign partners. And vice versa, we need to help the foreigners to bring their brand into Malaysia as well. That's why we have to rethink, we have to replan as an operator, we have to replan our business in order to survive, in order to prolong our business operation for the next 6 months, for the next 9 months. We have to look into it and turn it into digital, okay? As many as possible, as fast as possible. We cannot think anymore. We have to move. Yeah, we need government to come in. We need a lot of shareware to come in, right? For example, I'm running the hair salon business. We need a shareware for a hair salon, spa, beauty salon, manicure, pedicure, makeup, all this in almost similar business model. We need a shareware so that we can use it for the appointments, for the sales, online sales, for the online, everything is online, right? We need a shareware. There is a lot of people doing, developing all these gadget, all this software, right? But they need fund to run it. Right? We need all these startup companies to come into the picture so that we can use it instantly. We don't have another 3 months or 6 months. We need a solution very, very fast. Yeah. So that's why we need the government to cut off the bureaucracy of their system, to come into the picture. The Cradle Fund will come in to help all these startup company. Right? But instantly we can use it. But instantly for Dato Azlin group can use a gadget, okay, so that they can sell it online. They can help them to promote their business online. We need a lot of seminar. We need the organizer to organize a lot of seminar to teach all these retailer how to use a gadget, right? How to park our business online ASAP, right? I think the market is still there. We just need to hold on for another 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months. Just hold on, don't die, right? Just think how to cut off the outlet that you don't need, right? Because I see some of our friends like Kino Emishu, who is selling the health foods, are doing so well online. Right? They are doing so well online. They have planned 6 years, 7 years ago, right? They have brought their products online in Singapore, in Indonesia, in Thailand, and in China. Do it very well. And another company, which is Singheng, they are selling online now for all the electrical appliances. They did it quite well. Yeah, they are prepared. They have planned it 6 years ago. And our company have planned so many years ago. We employed a lot of tech people to manage our website, to turn it or the program into training it online. Very difficult, yeah, very difficult, very challenging, because we don't have enough talent in Malaysia who can taking care of our business to turn it from offline to online, right? That is very important. We have to bring in a lot of new models from China, from America, so that we can learn from the system immediately. As an operator, as a brand owner, yeah, I urge that you have to change yourself immediately, right? So thank you so much for the organizer for giving our chance to express ourselves here. Thank you. Giving back to you, moderator.
Thank you, Dato. I mean, actually, I must say, I'm not sure whether this is because it's a Monday or whether it is actually the heart of the digital ecosystem topic that has actually put all our speakers. I mean, I rarely find everybody on time. Actually, we are now not only on time, we are ahead of time a couple of minutes. And I think I must thank all the speakers, because they have not only kept their thoughts very crisp. Now, I like the way Dato Michael finished the whole thing, because I think he mentioned 4S. I remember. One is the startup ecosystem. The startup ecosystem in this country needs to have a new narrative. What? Second, he spoke about the speed of implementation, the speed of getting digitalization, and the speed of impediment, which means whether it's the policies, programs, or government intervention, what he coined it as there must not be a lot of red tape to it, so there must be speed of implementation. He also spoke a lot about sustainability and how the franchise business model has sustained in the post-pandemic period. And also, he spoke a lot about the shared, whether it is a technology-based sharing of an app or also sharing of resources, which is one of those pivotal things that as we move on to a operational operational cost model as opposed to a capital cost model in terms of the post-pandemic businesses. Now, I have a couple of questions which has been shared on the MDEX online platform. So quickly, let's get that over with. So some of the questions are generic, but I think one question which is specific to Dato Michael Kang is, Dato, you mentioned out of the 1.2 million SMEs registered, how many have officially closed across all industries? So that's a number you might want to mention.
Okay, I think the official close, I think the numbers, how many percent, I don't have really figures, but I think what we did the survey in end of May before the MCO3 lockdown, I think the response from the SME, at least 20% of them, they mentioned they're going to permanently close down, at least 20%. The other 20%, they say if the MCO, if the lockdown is going to extend, it's not 2 weeks, it's going to extend more until now, I think another 20%, they're also going to close down. But this 40%, I think what I'm looking at least 30%, there will be temporary shutdown. It's not fully locked down. I think fully locked down, at least about 10%. The other one is 30% will temporary lockdown until December. Why? Because they have zero income. They cannot sustain themselves. So they have to pay all the expenditures. It's not possible for them to continue. That's why they have to temporarily lock down until December so that they can restructure and just to look into a new business and restructure the company. And maybe there's another way to adopt the technology. I think this is the way they go. Okay.
Thanks, Dato. But I think again, I probably put you in a spot to answer that question, because nobody really has been able to answer that question of how many has actually locked down, because it's a question of it's like asking how many in ICU and how many actually have gone on to, I mean, has passed away. It's a very, very hard question. So if you add up whatever that you have said, whether there's a 20% and a 10% and a plus a 30%, I would put it like 80% of the businesses out there are really suffering. A very small number. So the 80-20 rule applies. Only about 20% of the businesses are sustaining in some model or the other. Now, if you use another measure of how badly we are doing, it's like if you totally lock down all businesses, every day we are suffering about 2.4 billion in terms of losses. Now, if you go back to the halfway sort of MCO approach, which we employed a couple of months ago, we are probably losing $1 billion. And now this approach, this essential, non-essential approach, and trying to manage the phased rollout of the economy, we are probably losing about 300 million ringgit every day. Now, if you use what YB Dato Tengku Zafrul mentioned, for every ringgit loss, whether it's the billion or 2.4 billion or the 300 million, 35 cents of every ringgit which has been lost is actually income to people. So regardless of how big an economic stimulus package or whatever other support measures that the government or the private sector wants to put in, it is impossible to replace that kind of income. It is impossible to replace 35% of 300 million, which is close to 100 million ringgit every day. And it's just impossible to replace that kind of income. Now, another important question, Dato, is the question on how we have evolved as far as this Delta variant. So people have really gone away with this whole, I think the last couple of days, even yesterday evening, Prime Minister mentioned privileges that this 8.5 million Malaysians who have actually fully vaccinated, hopefully after the 14th or the 28th day, will have in our country. And I think a lot of discussions has already happened. I think most of us are in common WhatsApp groups, and we realize now restaurant operators, for example, have actually gone on to ask, look, it is the pandemic, but the Delta variant is around, and how do we mitigate it? Do I open, not open? And maybe government is quite irresponsible to actually open up. While we answer that so quickly, can I take one answer from, say, Dato Mike Loh? Dato, what do you think about the Delta variant and opening up of the economy?
I think we are very confused. As an operator, we are confused, right?
Okay. Thank you, Dato. I just a very quick answer. Dato Azlin.
No, I agree with Dato Mike actually, because the numbers are going up, but yet I guess the government has to balance between the life and livelihoods again. I think
so I think the common answer, I think I wouldn't ask Dato Michael and put him on the spot, because otherwise he has to report to the Majlis Pemulihan Negara. But the idea is, I think everybody is trying to have this balance. I think the life versus livelihood is not life versus livelihood. Life and livelihood exist in the same parallel system. Now, one very important question to bring back to where our topic is in terms of digital divide. So now, if I have to ask this in another way, from all the readings that I've done and from little experience that we have within our members and our businesses and our chambers, is three main issues as far as digital adoption by SMEs especially. One, it's the fear of technology. Not knowing what technology to use or how to go about embracing the technology, or how to bring it into the DNA of the business. One. Two, there's an issue of cost. Sometimes may be cost prohibitive. Most companies may have not put aside a specific digital budget or e-commerce budget, maybe starting up a social media, or even as simple as starting up a website, to bringing in digital solutions and tools across all functions of the businesses. To point three, in terms of digital knowledge or digital know-how, this digital know-how again is external. Most companies, like you said, if they're micro enterprises, me, myself, and I, even if you look at SMEs, the number of people that they have are more marketing, sales, or other functions within the company, and may not have the digital savviness. So how does SMEs manage technology, cost, and also the digital know-how? So maybe I would answer that question to Dato Michael Kang. So in your experience, Dato, How do they manage this?
I think most of the SMEs doesn't know how to manage this. I think this is the biggest challenge currently for the SME. You know, you can see most of the SME. This is why they're at a loss. They always have facing when it comes to this sort of question, how to manage technology, because they don't have talent. They feel that the technology is so huge. They are not able to touch. Then again, the second is like what our panel this are also talking about that. They doesn't know what to use, how to use, implement for their businesses. I think this is always the challenge they have. So this is why we hope that the government can come out, you know, or maybe to work with all various associations, you know, to tell them or a single or common platform for them to adopt, or no education for them to adopt in slowly, step by step, so that they can able to know. Then when they learn, they're able to know what to do and how to manage their cash flow, how to manage their investment, how to manage their tap, and include the businesses into their daily operation. This is what I might suggest.
Thanks, Dato. I think you not only said what the problem is, but also you offered some solutions. Dato Mike.
I think I add on what Dato Michael have said. I think we urge the government to look, will come into the picture to talk. We should communicate with all the association in the market right now, okay? Because every association is represent a business. Yeah, so we have to assist all the member. We have to create a shareware. We have to create a master website, so that all these member of us, right, SME, no matter SME, franchise retailer or whatever, so they will come in to just log in themselves, post picture by picture into the master website, so that everything will be include in the master website for SME, master website for franchise, master website for women entrepreneur, women business, all these things, and they will pop into a master giant website, so everybody can search, can look for the business, and we can explore all these businesses into e-marketplace, into e-expo or e-franchise or whatever, to connect with Thailand, Indonesia, China, everywhere. So we need all these MTech or a cradle fund to come into the pictures. We need their help ASAP.
Correct, Dato. I think you have stressed the idea of speed of implementation, which is a very, very good idea, especially in the post-pandemic phase. Dato Azlin, there's a question again alluding to what I actually asked earlier, and also what has already come out from one of our listeners is I like what Dato Azlin mentioned about getting into the specific action plans as far as helping SMEs to digitalize. But the question is, where can we go to find out what solutions that is suitable to me? Who will assess my specific needs, and at what cost? Is there an institutional support? I think that's the question.
Yeah, I think I'll come back again to what Datuk Michael and Datuk Mike has said previously in their comments, because I think it's related to that. I think it's very important, I mean, for MDEC or even Ministry of Entrepreneurship Development, right, to think about, you know, the whole landscape, the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Malaysia, so that you can break it up into specific industries like franchise, like you know, and also according to the size of the businesses, so that now you can lead us, you know, and say that, okay, for micros in this industry, this is what you need, right? Because I think there's a lot of awareness and education, you know, which needs to be done there. Because as Datuk Michael said just now, some people don't know what they need. They don't know what they require to go on. So if we can break down to specific industries, right, micro, small, medium, and then according to the specific industries, then you you know, tell them that, okay, for these industries, this is what's required. And as Datuk Mike said just now, you have a shareware which is particular to that industry, so that everybody will know where they're heading to, right? Otherwise, you know, you talk about digitalization, I mean, that word again, digitalization, but what does it mean, and what do we require? Right, I mean, it's just not so clear. So maybe MDEC can take that up, all right, and split up everybody into the specific industries and tailor made some of these things for that.
Correct, Dato. I think one of the things that has really come across as far as this pandemic is concerned in terms of the data, right? So now is the time where really we have good data to speak about how many number of micros that we have, how big are the SMEs, and how big are the S of the SMEs and the medium size of the SMEs and all that. So one other thing that I like the way you mentioned, and even Dato Michael mentioned, is in terms of differentiated approach. So one side you should have the idea of the micro, the small, medium sized enterprises, and then see which phase of evolution of business that they are in some sort of a matrix approach, and says if you are in this level but your evolution of business is at this level, and this is what you can go on for. So that differentiated approach, because I was schooled in this idea of digitalization and the digital economy. It's a very, very different thing, and it's very, very hard for a micro enterprise to even go on to understand. And that's that threshold, that fear of wanting to inertia of moving to the digital world is what is probably causing the so-called digital divide to become bigger. My next question to Dato Michael Kang is this. Now, Dato, while this digital economy has evolved and made a lot of businesses move on to the new digital world, but I think there is also fear of monopolies being created. I'll give you a simple example. This creation of super apps. So if you take Grab, for example, and after that they bought out Uber, they control close to 80% of the e-hailing businesses in the Southeast Asia region, and they control close to 27% of the e-wallet transactions that is happening. Now, nothing wrong with what Grab is. This is not, I'm not anti-Grab, but what happens to small, medium-sized enterprises like us compared to the giants of the industry, the Microsofts, the Google, the Grab, the Food Panda, and everybody else who has got bigger budget, better technology, better know-how, and that I'm not sure, because one side we are trying to provide equality and equity for SMEs, and one side the digital divide, unfortunately, is the difference between riding a Proton and a Porsche. And that's impossible to catch up that speed. So how do we manage this? Dato Michael Kang, and maybe after that, Dato Michael.
Okay, I think it's very important. I just mentioned also, this government should provide a common platform, especially to help micro and local SME or even local platform, to embark into. So it's easier for the SME to enter. I think we should not somehow support with all the big international platform, because they are considered monopoly and to control our Malaysians market. At the same time, a lot of, you can see international platforms, they're selling international products. They are not fully helping the domestic, especially micro and small medium SME, because the charges is expensive. And also a lot of SME micro are not able to move in because they don't have expertise and they don't have cash as well. So we hope that the government can come up a local platform, local business models, for the micro and the informal sector, plus the small medium industry to able to embark. I think we should not only focus on one or two platforms. We should focus a few different business model, few different industry, and allow the SME to embark in. Even every single different business, they should have 3 to 4 different platforms for the SME to choose to learn, for better services.
Thank you, Dato. And Dato Michael, very quick take on that question in terms of how.
I think we don't have much time, because to develop a software, you might need 3 months, 6 months, or more than that. We need millions of money, right? So we need to get MTech in place. We need to get Cradle Fund in place. We need to get association in place. All these 3 panels must be in place. Why? Because Cradle Fund, they have been in place in Malaysia for decades, about 10 years plus minus. So inside Cradle Fund, there is a lot of developer, a lot of startup company. They might have a lot of ready-made products that we might need it, right? By instance, because as I said, we don't have time to develop a new software. We need to relook into the startup company, what they have, what we can use it, and how we can gel it with them. By instance, how MTech could come into the picture to furnish it with all the fund. Yeah, I think this is important. Then we can go, as I say, another word is ASAP. That's a speed. Yeah, we can't afford to lose any month. Right? And I think by government per se, will be very easy to connect to China, to Indonesia, or to Thailand, all these big companies, so that we can sell across, not only in Malaysia alone.
Thank you, Dato. So, right, I think we have been, while talking, I mean, time has really passed and we have got exactly 6 minutes to the clock. So, can I have a quick wrap up of a minute from each of the speakers? Say, Dato Azlin, start with you.
Okay, so I look forward to some, specific guides, specific, assistance from MDEC, in terms of what we discussed just now about helping the industries according to their size, according to, their industry and their businesses. So I think that'll be the way to go to apply digitalization to this current business landscape in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. Dato Michael Kang?
Okay, I think for me, I think here we are urging all the SME, please adopt technology. It's very important. They must to do is, this is no way. If they want to survive, they have to. The other one is we hope that the government really seriously look into it, how to help, especially micro as a common platform to build more platform, especially locally, and support locals platform, which is like what Dato Mike had mentioned, that there are a lot of startup company, they are already ready, they have all the solution, local owned solution, and bring this platform for the micro SME, bring them not only for local market to the regional. I think then we able to build our own and to help the SME proper engage in the digitization. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. I think another way to put what Dato Michael Kang said is either differentiate or die. So Dato Michael.
Okay, I have to remind all these retailers who are still survive in the market, or SME still survive in the market right now. Don't blame government, don't blame pandemic, don't blame your landlord, right? Be positive. Spend a little bit time, just spend a little bit of money, right? Your last bullet, maybe your last bullet, look into what we say, look into attend a lot of conferences, a lot of class, talking about platform, digital platform, talking about how to turn your business into digitalization. I think this is crucial, right? We urge you to turn your thinking format, right? Don't be negative.
Thank you, Dato. I think, one of the good things that Dato Mike has actually mentioned in terms of this attitude, right? So the only reason why that 20% of the numbers that Dato Michael Kang just now mentioned, why the 20% has really survived is primarily because the attitude they have is that glass half full or glass half empty. I think despite the pandemic, because we really don't have a playbook, we're really not sure whether the worst is past us with the Delta variant and whatever else that is coming through after this, while the government gives you some sort of privileges to move around with this quarter of our adult population being fully vaccinated. So if I could just sum it up, just got a 2 minutes more from all the three eminent panelists, that 4 major thought points about how do we bridge this divide. I would put it into the 4 I's. 4 I's, the first I being infrastructure. So there is enough details, whether it is the digital blueprint of the nation, whether it is the roadmaps that many ministries have actually put out, whether it is multimedia, whether it is MDEC, or whether it is the MIDEC, or even whether it is the MITI. They have a lot of roadmaps, policies, programs. So that basically gives you the infrastructure details available. The infrastructure, which is the next I, the infrastructure, while we have actually rolled out the 5G plan over the next 10 years, where we intend to go. Broadband, I hope the broadband is made more affordable and more accessible. I wouldn't want to go into the ideas of why telcos are really not being able to do that much for us, despite the good efforts by the government trying to push them to get better connectivity. As we know that we still struggle with broadband connectivity being affordable and accessible. The other I is basically institutional support. I think MDEC, which is leading the digital economy change and needs within Malaysia, is definitely in the forefront of it, but supported with different domains, whether it is the startup domain within Magic, whether it is the funding domain within Cradle, and multiple other agencies, including other agencies like ministries like MEDAC or even SME Corp, has got a role to play in this institutional approach. But what all of us as SMEs, including the panelists, have always asked the government is, don't have multiple organizations trying to do everything. While multiple organizations have a role, there must be one lead agency, and that must be, in this case, an MDEC. It's not that I am a big supporter of MDEC on any nature or the other, but I've always professed that there must be two go-to kind of agency, and that go-to agency, in this case for digital economy, especially in dividing the digital economy for SMEs, must be MDEC. And the fourth I is terms of incentives. Now, while you have the infrastructure ready, and while institutional support is there, that incentive to move to the digital world, from all the data that we have shared. Now, if you look at the GDP contribution, a couple of questions that really come through our platform is, what is the GDP contribution of SMEs? 38.3%. The growth rate, our nation is growing at 4.5%, used to grow at 4.5%. SMEs are growing at 6.5%. But if we look at only the digital or the e-commerce space, growing at nearly 11 to 13%, which means nearly double the SME growth. So that is the one channel that is really going to bring you the growth. So you must have the incentive to go into the digital ecosystem, and that is a big mover in terms of the pull and push for SMEs to move into the digital ecosystem, and it must be supported by institutional measures. And for that, we bring this event to a close. We had great thoughts, great suggestions and proposals from the eminent speakers, Dato Michael Kang, Dato Azlin, and Dato Mike Low. All of us are in different boats, but in the same storm. And I must thank MDEC to actually started the second week of the Malaysian Tech Month with this topic. And thank you to MDEC, thank you to Tuan Hasrul, and everybody else who's made this possible. And thank you again to the eminent group of panelists.
Thank you, Dr. A.T.
Thank you, Dr. A.T. and all our esteemed panel members for that relevant in the now panel session to kickstart our morning. Just as Dr. Michael Kang said, he mentioned adoption of digitalization is a must. Adding on to that, Dr. Azlin said, it is not just to adapt, but also how to benefit from it in the business operations of SME. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this morning. Okay, hope to see you again. We will now be moving forward to our next session of the day. It will begin shortly, so do click join session. Please complete the survey for each session, as we will be striving to continuously serve you better. See you in the next session in a bit. Thank you.